Rebecca here, and it is October, which means it is almost time for my very, very favorite event of the bookish year, and that is Dewey's 24-hour readathon. For those of you who have been around for a while, you know I get really excited about this readathon. I usually read a lot. I'm pretty hardcore about it. For those of you who have not been around, I'm really obsessed with Dewey's 24-hour readathon. For those of you who do not know, this is an event that happens twice a year in April and October. This one coming up is on Saturday, October 22nd. It is just what it sounds like. It's a 24-hour readathon in which you try to read as much as possible within a 24-hour time frame. The readathon starts for different times all over the world, so depending on your time zone, you will have to go to the website and check out when your start time is, and that way we all start at the same exact moment. And all finish at the same exact moment all over the world, which I think is a really unique and wonderful kind of characteristic of this readathon. So today, in addition to my TBR, I wanted to do some quick tips for Dewey's readathon. This is my 5th time participating, and I've gotten pretty good at reading a ton in this time. And these are kind of basic tips, but if you haven't participated before, or maybe I've only done it once or twice and want to kind of change things up, I think that they could be really helpful for you. My first few tips all involve just taking care of yourself and being aware of what your body needs during this readathon. So firstly, I highly recommend that you get a good night's sleep the night before the readathon starts. For me, my start time is at 8 a.m. and has always been, so it's pretty easy for me to have just woken up and be refreshed. But getting a good night's sleep the night before the readathon is super important. It's also important to take breaks during the day, and you'll definitely probably want to take some naps. If not, just sleep for a full 8 hours, which is fine too. I generally don't sleep a full night, but I'll take periodic kind of 20 minute to 2 hour naps throughout the day. Whether you plan these ahead of time or just kind of take them as you need them is up to you, but I do find that it's really helpful to get at least a little bit of rest, or else by the end of the readathon you're delirious and you have no idea what you're reading. So that's tip number 1. It also helps you from kind of overdosing on caffeine and getting like really jittery and weird feeling. I'm very sensitive to caffeine, so I get really super weird if I drink too much of it. So that's another benefit of just scheduling some downtime to close your eyes and give your mind and body a break. The second tip about taking care of your body involves food. A, please eat during the readathon. B, and I'm such a hypocrite for saying this, don't overdose on junk food. I do this thing every single time where I treat myself for readathon, and I get kind of all of my favorite junk food snacks that I don't normally treat myself to, like Doritos and Milano cookies and things like that, that I normally wouldn't like keep in my house or buy on a regular occasion. And that's basically all I eat all day, because I just snack throughout the day, because A, it's harder to fall asleep when you're snacking, and B, I'm just a hungry person and I don't really feel like making meals. But you should not do this, because every day, the day after the readathon, I feel like garbage, because not only have I slept, not only have I had too much caffeine and probably too little water, but I've also just been eating like gross sugary carbs for 24 hours and haven't had any protein or vegetables or anything. So I do recommend that you go out and buy some snacks. Do treat yourself, but keep it in check. Maybe buy some veggies or cook a nice well-balanced meal in your crock pot throughout the day or something like that. Meal prep can really help you cut down on the time you have to spend towards making meals the day of readathon, so I do recommend that. Preparing ahead of time as much as possible is super useful, but don't overdose on the Doritos like I do every year. Tip number 3 is something I've said before and something I'll say again, and that is don't compare yourself to other people. I am a very competitive person when it comes to readathon, but I don't necessarily compete with other readathoners. Like, I'm not like, oh, that person's read more than me, I gotta read faster, I gotta read more. I'm very competitive with myself, so I'm like, oh, last year I read this many books and this many pages, so this year I need to read this many books and this many pages, and I need to do better and I need to read more, which is very silly. The point of readathon is to have fun. Whether you can commit to 1 hour or the entire 24 is totally up to you. I have never stayed up for the entire 24 hours, and I generally read for about 16 out of 24 hours, which is a pretty high number, but I feel like I get enough rest and am alert enough to do that. I'll probably never set my goal for higher than that personally, but some people do stay up for all 24 hours, and that's fine too. Whatever you can commit to is fine. You don't have to feel pressured to read so much that your brain explodes. You have to do what's right for you. Maybe you have other commitments throughout the day. That's all fine. Don't feel like you can't participate if you can't commit to the full 24 hours. That's not at all the point of this readathon. The point is to have fun. And, you know, this person over here might have read 12 books and 1,000 pages, and you've only read one book, but who knows, all of their books might have been graphic novels, and you might be reading a classic. You can't compare across people and genres and boundaries like that. Just have fun and do what you can do that day, and make sure you're enjoying it, because when you start worrying about numbers, it stops being fun. My kind of last and final tip, again, along the have fun veins, is to get involved. There are so many ways you can get involved in Dewey's 24-hour readathon. You can be a reader. If you can't commit to being a reader, you can be a cheerleader. You can do both. And you can follow the hashtag on Twitter, on Instagram. There's a Goodreads group. There are hourly posts on the blog. Get involved. Search the hashtag. Reach out to people. I've made a lot of friends who I still follow on social media through Dewey's 24-hour readathon, and that's just because we had some weird, delirious 3 a.m. conversation one day when we tweeted at each other via, you know, the hashtag or whatever. It's really important to get involved, and I think it makes the readathon that much more fun. And like I said, you will have some strange, like, hour 20 conversations with people that when you look back on them make no sense because none of you have had any sleep. But it's so much fun, and you can make a lot of memories, and you can find a lot of friends. And don't wait for people to come to you. Definitely reach out. I feel like everyone participating in this readathon will appreciate you reaching out. I don't think anyone will find it weird or creepy if you're like, yay, go you, in response to, you know, a tweet that they tweeted with the hashtag in it. I think that it's important that we all support each other and we all have a really great time. And that's one of the things that I love most about this readathon. And don't forget that there are hourly challenges. So make sure that you get to go and participate in those. You don't have to do all of them, but they're really fun. You have a chance to win prizes, which is a nice bonus, and it gets you up and moving, which is something you should also focus on during readathon, which I guess I kind of left out of this list, is to get up and move around and change reading spots throughout the day, because if you just lay in the same spot on your couch all day, you're going to feel terrible. So get up and do things. Audiobooks are a great way to foster this. You can go for a run or a walk, do your dishes, wash a load of laundry, whatever, but make sure that you are changing kind of reading rooms and reading spaces and at least moving a little bit throughout the day, because that's another important part of taking care of your body. So without further ado, here's my readathon TBR stack. I always pick more books than I know I'm going to be able to get to, because I think it's important to have a stack of books already picked out, even if it's more than you know you're going to get to, because then when you get bored with whatever you're reading, you don't have to go rummage around your bookshelves like a crazy person and end up losing a lot of time by looking at your bookshelves and touching and caressing and smelling your books, as one may. But you have a stack, a nice sizable stack, preferably with a lot of different genres and formats and all kinds of stuff. That way there's something that'll always pique your interest and kind of keep you engaged. This year I've gone for larger books than I have in the past. In the past I've read primarily kind of novellas and graphic novels. This year my challenge is to tackle some longer books and not just kind of flip from story to story, which is fine, and I've done it for a really long time, but I wanted to mix it up a little bit. So I do have some old trusty dusty trade graphic novels that are coming my way. I don't have them yet, but they will be Saga Volume 6 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples, Giant Days Volume 3 by John Allison, and I got Plutona by Jeff Lemire, which is a new release from Jeff Lemire that I'm super excited about. And finally, I believe, Lumberjanes. I got Lumberjanes Volume 4 also headed my way. So those are all kind of fun graphic novels that I think will be great for me to dip in and out of throughout the day. I also have a standalone graphic memoir. That is something new by Lucy Nisley. Lucy Nisley is a really awesome graphic memoirist, and she writes all kinds of travel and food graphic memoirs, but this one's about her getting married. The subtitle is Tales from a Makeshift Bride. I'm really excited about this because I just got married and I feel like I'm going to be able to relate to it a lot. Again, it's a little bit bigger than I would normally choose, and the pages are pretty text heavy. So I think it'll be a little bit slower going, but I'm excited about it nonetheless. I just picked one audiobook this time around, and it's quite a longer audiobook, but I do listen to my audiobooks kind of on 1.5 to 3 speed, depending on the book. So this is Dancer by Colin McCann. This is historical fiction about a famous Russian ballet dancer, and I've liked Colin McCann's historical fiction before. I also obviously have this in physical form, so I can kind of dip in and out of the audiobook and the physical book depending on how I'm feeling. A collection of short stories, that's Vampires in the Lemon Grove by Karen Russell. I started this ages and ages and ages ago. So I'm about 100 pages into this already, and it's only 250 pages. I'm really hoping I can finish it because I've been putting off finishing this collection for a really long time, and I'd like to finish it and move on to some of Karen Russell's other works. I picked up a play as well. This is Pygmalion by Bernard Shaw, a classic play. I don't know that much about it, actually. I've never seen the movie adaptation of this, and I'm excited about it. It is a little bit more text-heavy than I anticipated. Usually plays are a little bit easier to get through because the pages aren't so text-heavy, but either way, it's a short book, and I'm looking forward to it. I have some poetry, and that is another very large volume. This is Selected Verse by Federico Garcia Lorca. This is the bilingual edition, and the poems have been translated by numerous translators, so I'm not going to name them all, but every single poem is in Spanish and also in English, side by side. Depending on how sleepy and addled my brain is, I will go back and forth between the English and the Spanish probably. When I'm more alert, I can read in Spanish. If I start to get sleepy, it's not going to make any sense to me. I'm definitely not anticipating getting through the whole of this collection, but I am hoping to get a sizable chunk of it read. And lastly, I have a strange little book. This is Little Labors by Rivka Galchen. I hauled this over the summer, and it's proclaimed as a literary miscellany. So there are all these different sections, like notes on some 20th century writers, and religious aspects of the baby. It's apparently about babies and literature, and I don't know. It looks like kind of little mini essays, and I'm excited about it. So we will see how this goes. That's all I have to say about Dewey's 24-hour readathon. For those of you who like to track for how long you've read versus how many pages or books you've read, I highly recommend you use your stopwatch app on your smartphone if you have one. That way you can start and pause it as you go, and the hours will add up over time. That way you don't have to keep a physical sheet, though if you want to do that, you can do that too. If you are participating, please tell me what you're reading, and if you are thinking about participating and have any questions, let me know. And if you have any other tips for a successful 24-hour readathon, do share those in the comments. Thank you. I'm so excited. I can't wait to read with you all this weekend. You can follow me all day Saturday on Instagram and Twitter. I will be tweeting and posting up a storm. You can also check out my Litsy account because I'm sure I'll be adding reviews as I finish books throughout the day. And that is all I have, and I will see you all soon. Bye.